Hello and welcome to the Paris Fintech Forum Communities Programme. I'm Elliot Gotkin. I'm a journalist and, with Laurent Nisri, co-host of this exclusive video interview series produced with the support of Solaris Bank, Rise and BPI France. Now, it processes more than $20 billion of payments every year, has more than 60,000 customers worldwide, and after its most recent fundraising is within neighing distance of becoming a unicorn, if that's the sound that unicorns make. The company is GoCardless and its co-founder and CEO is Hiroki Takeuchi. Great to see you, Hiroki.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. I think you're in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. How are things over there?
Yeah, well, they're looking a bit more positive. Obviously, it's been a tough start to the year for everyone on a personal level. A lot of lockdowns, uncertainty, but the vaccine program seems to be going well for us, and we see things starting to open up and the light at the end of the tunnel. And then that combined with some good weather more recently, I think has got everyone in a positive mood.
The weather always helps lift spirits in the UK.
Sure.
We're all so excited when the sun comes out. So look, Hiroki, just tell us more about GoCardless, if you could.
Sure. So at GoCardless, what we do is we process payments. We help businesses with recurring business models to collect those payments using technology that taps into the bank-to-bank payment rails. So unlike a lot of other payment companies that typically focus on credit and debit cards, we focused on the bank-to-bank rails like SEPA debit, direct debit, ACH debit, etc. And we use that to help these businesses to collect payments from their customers on a regular basis. And so, as you said, working with about 60,000 businesses now, processing over $20 billion a year in volume for them, and increasingly with a more international footprint. You know, we started in the UK, but have been investing in international expansion quite a bit over the recent years.
And you're not just expanding internationally, you're also expanding into other payment areas. And I understand now you might be ruffling a few feathers at the likes of Visa and MasterCard now as you move into kind of e-commerce and enable people to kind of bypass credit card networks for payments, saving them costs and perhaps taking business away from the likes of Visa and MasterCard.
Yeah, well, I think it's a really interesting time because we're seeing a lot of development in new bank API interfaces and a lot of trends there. So things like open banking, PSD2, you're seeing a lot of activity. There's opening up access to people's bank accounts in safe and secure ways. And, you know, we see that those payment rails that are enabled through those kind of trends are ones that will be a really big impact on the payments ecosystem at large. And I think we'll make account-to-account and bank-to-bank payments in particular a more competitive and compelling offering for a wider set of use cases. So, you know, we've historically focused on recurring payments, but I think that, you know, with these kind of developments, we'll see more and more types of payments using these bank rails.
Okay. Have you had any feedback, or did you hear if they're kind of quaking in their boots at Visa and MasterCard HQ?
I'm probably not the right person to ask about that. But I think that what we do know is that we're seeing a lot of demand from merchants that are looking to explore this area, right? There's a lot of attention. I think that, you know, businesses are looking for alternative ways of collecting payment from their customers, you know, cheaper, faster, more secure, more reliable methods, especially given that, you know, what the internet has been around for a while now, right? And I think that, you know, we still don't have payment rails that fully take advantage of everything that the internet enables. And so, you know, I think that with things like open banking, we're going to see the next generation of payments, and we're really, really excited about that. And we're hearing a lot of demand from the market that is super excited about it as well.
Yeah, and investors seem super excited as well. You recently announced your Series F, raising $95 million, led by Bain Capital Ventures. What's the money for? And now you're such a chunky-sized company. Would an IPO be the next thing on the agenda?
Well, I can't speak about IPOs. I think that that's something that, you know, we'd announce something if there was something going on, but there's nothing to announce right now. But in terms of the fundraise that we did more recently, it was to invest in these new payment rails that we were just talking about, right? So open banking, PSD2, all of these kind of developments, we're seeing them happen all around the world. And up until now, we've built technology on top of these bank debit mechanisms that have been fantastic way to collect recurring payments. But we think combining that platform with these open banking type methods is going to enable us to serve a much wider variety of use cases and solve them even better for our existing customers as well. And so we're investing a lot into building against those platforms, or expanding the platform and building against those new payment rails.
Right, and fintech, it's in general has been on fire this past year. Stripe, which I think this year raised $600 million at something like a $95 billion valuation, making I guess GoCardless look relatively small by comparison. I mean, they've launched their own direct debit product. Does that kind of competition worry you when a company of the size of Stripe kind of starts muscling in on your turf?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you're going to see competition, and it's welcome because it keeps us all on our toes. I think that we've taken quite a different strategy, and we're focused on a very different area of the market. So we're not trying to compete directly with the Stripes, the Adyens, the PayPals of the world, and we've been quite focused on building on these bank-to-bank rails, and going after a slightly different area of the market. And so we don't see that changing really. Like we see more and more of a kind of that kind of one-stop shop approach working in certain segments, but not being a good fit for others. And I think that there's always that question of breadth versus depth. And for the customers that we work with, that depth is really important. And so we think that there's a lot of space for us to continue growing, and we're super excited about that. And I think one of the reasons why there's so much attention on payments and fintech more broadly is that these are very, very large markets. And so I don't think you're going to be in a world where there's a winner takes all kind of situation. I think it's going to be there'll be a healthy level of fragmentation, and a lot of opportunities to grow very big businesses in these markets.
Right, plenty of room for everyone. So you told us a bit more about GoCardless there, Hiroki. Perhaps you can tell us a bit more about yourself and how you came to, find yourself in this position of CEO and co-founder of an almost unicorn.
Yeah, well, I mean, we started GoCardless just almost exactly 10 years ago, and so started when we were quite young. I think I was about 23, 24 at the time, as were my co-founders. And I think it's been a fantastic journey. In some ways, when you first start a business, you kind of dream of what you could build. And what's interesting is that regardless of how big you get and any kind of scale that you achieve, you're always looking at what can you build next. And so, to be honest, I don't spend all that much time thinking about what we've done so far, and I think a lot more about where we're going to go next and what are the opportunities ahead of us. So I guess I'm much more of a forward-looking person than a backward-looking one.
Right, but if we obviously, for the purposes of this section of the conversation, we'll stay looking back a little bit, because I think as you said, you founded the company, you were quite young, and then about 5 years in, you had this accident that left you paralyzed. One imagines that must have had a profound impact on you, both personally and in terms of your professional life and running GoCardless.
Absolutely, it's very much a life-changing event, and one that was a big challenge, and continues to be a big challenge for me on a personal level. But I think that I feel very lucky in the sense that there's lots of people that go through similar experiences, far more than you would ever want. And I was fortunate enough to have established enough momentum in the business that we could continue building without me being there for a little while. And also it gave me something to go back to. And so, I had very supportive family, very supportive friends that helped me to recover and to rebuild on a personal level. And then a lot of support from my investors, my board, the rest of my team, to come back and continue running the company. And that gave me a lot of purpose. And I think that especially when you go through these kind of real life-changing and traumatic events in life, that kind of purpose can be really powerful.
Right. And I read that you actually returned to GoCardless, or you started your return to GoCardless just something like 12 weeks after the accident. I'm just wondering, did your leadership style change at all? Did your drive to succeed, was it even more acute than it was before, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot changed. And much of it by necessity. But it also created opportunity for me to revisit the way that I was operating. So, when I went back to work, I mean, I was just had come straight out of hospital basically, and I was still on the road to recovery. So it's not like I came back full time. I initially came back 1 day a week. I was spending a lot of time in rehab, trying to sort of build back strength so that I could adapt to living in a wheelchair. And so, it wasn't like it was a sudden return, right? It was more of a gradual one. And that forced me to rethink how to do my job, right? You can't suddenly go from working 5, 6 days a week to working 1 day a week and do the same things, right? You have to kind of take a different approach. And I think it was in hindsight a really good opportunity for me to rethink my role, and give others more of an opportunity um, to take on more responsibility, and empower. My role became much more about empowering the team as opposed to doing things directly, and that had a big influence on my leadership style, and continues to have shape the way that I lead the business today.
Right. Wow. Very, inspiring the way you came back so quickly and, and have continued to grow and expand GoCardless. But we're going to take a little break now, Hiroki. So please don't go away. After this short break, we're going to continue our conversation with Hiroki Takeuchi, co-founder and CEO of GoCardless. Welcome back. And don't forget, if you're not already a full member of our community, everything you need to join can be found at www.parisfintechforum.com. And now, Hiroki, I've got a few more questions for you, perhaps more general questions about the fintech landscape in general. GoCardless has been in the US, I think, since 2019. Do you think that now that you, Revolut, and others have kind of gone over there and made a good go of things, that you've kind of laid to rest this old saw that British companies, tech companies or otherwise, can't succeed stateside?
Well, I think with technology, you're seeing much more global businesses being built, and I think that means that you can be successful from a much wider range of places, right? You don't need to be in a specific location, and if anything, the experience that we've all had working through a pandemic, and all having to work from home is a testament to that. It doesn't matter if I'm in London, if I'm in San Francisco, if I'm in Tel Aviv, as you are now. We can all connect together and get things done. And so, I just see this as a general trend that as technology companies get to bigger scale and go more global, that we're going to see success stories from a wider range of countries. And we recently saw the IPO of UiPath, right, a company from Eastern Europe, and you're seeing all of these companies creating massive global success stories from all over the world. So I think that this is a trend that is here to stay.
Right. I guess the world is becoming smaller and flatter, and it doesn't matter where you come from anymore. That's perhaps one thing that the pandemic has done. Now, many big name US fintechs and other startups began their life at programs like Y Combinator, including GoCardless, I guess. At least that's perhaps where you had the idea to begin with. Is it about time European founders had somewhere comparable to be incubated on this side of the pond? And how important do you think something like that would be to furthering the ambitions of UK or European tech companies?
Well, I think that this is just a kind of a function of the ecosystem as a whole. And I think one of the things that has always been a big advantage for Silicon Valley is that that ecosystem is older and has had more time to grow. So I'm a big believer in this virtuous cycle of success stories begetting success stories, right? You see the people that were the early employees of the Googles and the Facebooks going and creating the next wave of technology companies that become the big success stories of tomorrow. And I think that what we're seeing in Europe is that we're just earlier on in that journey. We don't have as long track record of big successful technology exits and businesses being built, but we're seeing those now, right? The first wave of them, and so I think that there are obviously some great incubator programs running in Europe, but I just see those as getting stronger and stronger as the ecosystem becomes more mature. So I think for us, when we first started the company back in 2011, it made a lot of sense for us to go and do YC because there just wasn't that expertise in Europe. If you look at the partners and the people that were running the YC program at the time and also today, these are people that had some fantastic experience and success in Silicon Valley before. So I think what we'll see is the incubator programs in Europe continue to improve and get better as the people running them can lean on the experiences of prior successors. And so I'm super excited to see how that evolves.
Right, so I guess we'll be seeing the next GoCardless perhaps will be incubated or conceived at a European incubator of some sort as well. But look, Hiroki, I'm afraid we've run out of time. Unfortunately, could go on for much longer, I'm sure. But I really just want to thank you, Hiroki Takeuchi, co-founder and CEO of GoCardless, for joining me today. Really appreciate your taking the time.
Thanks, Elliot. It was great to spend time together.
Thank you, and hopefully see you in person again next time. And I'll be back next week with another big name from the world of finance and technology. We hope you'll join us again then. In the meantime, you can keep up to date with all the exclusive interviews and content from the Paris Fintech Forum Communities Program via www.parisfintechforum.com. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.